What's up, everybody? We're here to go over UFC 294, Makhachev versus Volkanovski 2. But real quick, I'm going to go over the results for last week. So, pure usual, man. You know, I told y'all in my last video, it's like I'm cursed. You know, all the fights I put money on get canceled. So, I thought I was going to get lucky last week and only one of them get canceled. But then right before the Felipe Lins fight, they canceled that one too. So I wound up with one play on, Buckley and won that one. That was a one-unit play at minus 180. And then I didn't post this parlay ahead of time, mostly because I forgot. But when I saw that J.J. Aldrich had went down to an underdog, I figured I should go ahead and put something on it. So I added a two-fight parlay of Aldrich and Kolakevich, and it cashed for $615. I think I had like $150 on it. So I figured that was good value on Aldridge. I definitely thought she was going to win that fight for sure, and I didn't understand all the money coming in on De La Rosa. So, yeah, man, so I got that too. So at least I got a little something, even though the other two fights were canceled. I was mad about the Felipe Lins fight getting canceled, man, because that was a plus money play. It would have been a lot of profit, and I was really hoping that one would come through for me. But yeah, man. So, and also, I mean, I had some parlays hit, but I lost a lot of value on them. I think it was not those. Sorry. Either way, I had some parlays that hit, but like I lost a lot of value on them because some of the fights got canceled. So I had like a 3-fight parlay that went down to 2 people, and like a 5-fight parlay that went down to like 3 people, and those were the 2 that hit. The bigger one didn't hit because of Murata, she lost, so that killed my big parlay. But these are the parlays from this weekend that I've already gave y'all. I thought I had the wrong ones pulled up, so sorry about that. But as always, man, please like and subscribe, guys. It really helped me out a lot. And if you're new to the channel, what I do is I go through and give out all my picks, and then I give out my bets at the end of the video. And I'm also available on Spotify, iTunes, Pandora, all your major streaming services. And if you're not interested in watching my videos, you can go to my social medias. I post all my bets and picks on there. And my TikTok and my Instagram are both highkick_fight picks. And there's a Facebook group that's High Kick Fight Picks on Facebook, easy to find. And not a lot of people in there, but you should, if you can, dude, go join that group, because there are some guys in there that post their bets and stuff ahead of time too. And it's a good place to get some free bets and free ideas, man. Some of these guys are winning money on there, So yeah, definitely check that out, man, and join that group. But yeah, man, so a lot of changes on this card. That's why, I usually get these out on Tuesday or Wednesday, and stuff just kept changing around, so it pushed me back a little bit. And I know me being late is still early than everybody else, so, I mean, whatever. But we lost quite a few fights on this card that, Nasruddin Imavov versus Ikran Aleskerov, that would have been a good fight. I was definitely going with Imavov there, and I was considering a play on him there. And then we lost Paulo Costa versus Chimaev, and Chimaev's fighting Usman now. And Makhachev was supposed to fight Oliveira, and now he's fighting Volkanovski again on short notice. And that kind of, I hate that we're getting both of those fights that got changed around, on such short notice for these guys. Because my picks, could have been a lot different if it was if it wasn't on such short notice, So, and it'll be interesting though to see what Usman looks like up at 185. See him coming in, pretty big, a lot bigger than he usually is. So, but either way, man, let's get into this card, guys, and I appreciate all you guys for watching. First up, we got Nathaniel Wood taking on Muhammad Neov, and Wood is 30 years old. He's 5'6" with a 69-inch reach. He is 19-5 and 7-2 in the UFC, and he's a minus 310 favorite. And yeah, Wood for the most part has looked really good, up at featherweight since he's gone up. And although we saw him getting hurt quite a bit in his last fight against Andre Fili, he did have a lot more trouble than anybody thought he was going to in that fight, honestly. But Andre Fili is very tough, and I know he got the win, anyway. So not shouldn't be talking so bad about it, but he did get hurt quite a bit in that fight, man. And it just kind of made me question, the big numbers that are always beside his name, seeing him getting dropped by Andre Fili twice, So he's taking on a guy here who just knocked out Jamie Malarkey up a weight class on short notice. So this is no easy fight. I don't think so. And he has nice boxing. I was really impressed with his win over Charles Jourdain. That really, I consider Charles Jourdain to be a very good fighter, and Nathaniel Wood, beat him pretty dominantly. So made it look easy. And he used his calf kicks really well in that fight, man. He has nice trip takedowns. He's usually at quite a height and reach disadvantage. Up at featherweight, he's usually quite a bit smaller than most of the guys he's fighting. Coming up from 135 pounds. But he is very good at slipping punches and countering off the slip, and very powerful. And I know he hasn't won a fight by knockout in the UFC, but he has dropped and hurt guys in most of his fights. Fast hands, nice combination. 7 wins by knockout, 6 wins by submission. He's definitely going to have a speed advantage in this fight, and he's definitely the cleaner, better striker out of these two, I would probably say. Naimov, I think Naimov's going to, want to try to get it to the ground here. I just don't know if he'll be able to. It would be smart, even though he is very powerful. But anyways, Naimov is 29 years old, 5'9", with a 70-inch reach. He is 9-2 and 1-0 in the UFC, and he's a plus 250 underdog. And yeah, Naimov impressed a lot of people, man. Coming in on short notice, up a weight class, and even though he was losing the Malarkey fight until he landed that big shot, he did upset a lot of people's parlays and a lot of people's money, in that spot. He was definitely smaller than Malarkey by quite a bit, and it showed, and he was major size disadvantage and all that, but he did land that, that clean punch and put him out. So I believe he's going to have the power advantage in this fight. We did see Andre Fili hurt Wood pretty badly, like I said, in the last fight, and I think so. If Naimov lands a a really good shot, Wood could be in trouble in this spot. It's going to be interesting to see him on a full camp, and in his right weight class this time. There's a lot of unknowns with that, going into this fight. How's he going to look? He's going to be a lot bigger than Wood, So, where was I at? Oh yeah, so in the past he showed to have bad takedown defense, earlier in his career. I mean, it has looked a little bit better in his last few fights. And when he did get taken down, he got it pretty quickly. I'm curious to see, his wrestling against UFC level competition, and his takedown defense, against these tougher guys. And he's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. He has 4 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. He lost his fight on the Contender Series to Colin Anglin, which is not a good look because Colin never did get a win in the UFC, and he's now cut from the UFC. But I do think he has improved a whole lot since then. Throws really hard calf kicks as well. I think he has some sort of like a Taekwondo type background or something, supposedly, even though you don't really see much of that in the way he fights. Yeah, he's a big featherweight, and he's going to have the power advantage, and I expect his striking to look a lot better in this fight with him being the bigger guy, having the reach advantage. And I do think Wood is the more skilled fighter all the way around here, and I'm going to pick him to win by decision, but I do worry for him in this fight. Naimov's way bigger and very powerful, and this is one of those fights that just kind of screams upset, to me. But, Wood is the more skilled fighter out of these two, in my opinion. So I'm going to be taking a win by decision, but, man, I don't know. I'm kind of worried to even include this one. I know Woods looked really great and everything, but the power coming back at him from Naimov is kind of scary, man. If he lands a big shot, he could put him out. So it's a big price. Maybe include him in your big parlays, and I wouldn't get heavily invested in it, as far as straight up or like in the 2-fight parlays like I usually do. But yeah, so Wood by decision. Next up, we got Javad Baszler taking on Victor Henry. And this is another fight with a big favorite that kind of scares me here. So Javad Baszler is 28 years old, 5'9", with a 69-inch reach. He is 14-0 and 3-0 in the UFC, and he's a minus 400 favorite. And I caught him at a little bit better price about a week ago. I don't remember. I'll have to look and see what I caught him at. It was quite a bit less than minus 400. 5 wins by knockout, 6 wins by submission. He beat a guy who is 16-0 on the Contender Series and finished him. He's very impressive. He's very well-rounded. He beat Tony Gravely, who's a very tough fighter. I'm a big Tony Gravely fan. And he showed us that he can do it all since being in the UFC. Great jiu-jitsu, great kickboxing. He's going to have a height and reach advantage in this fight, a 1-inch reach advantage. He has good sweeps, great takedown defense, 85% takedown defense, and he lands 5.64 strikes per minute. He's got a 60% striking accuracy. Sorry, I can't talk. He's just been very dominant, through and through in all of his fights, man. Great wrestling, good striking defense, great knees and elbows in close. He fights very smart. He's always on his toes. He mixes up his attacks very well. I can't say enough good things about this guy, man. And the giant price really does reflect how high people are on this guy, because Victor Henry is no joke at all. He's a very tough guy, and he's looked impressive as well since being in the UFC. So it's kind of crazy to see him, that much of an underdog. And he's taking on Victor Henry. He's 36 years old, 5'7", with a 68-inch reach. He is 23-6 and 2-1 in the UFC, and he's a plus 300 underdog. Yeah, Henry's very good, man. Very experienced. He's fought all over the world. He has looked very good in the UFC, man. He did lose to Rafael Sunsao, who was on a 4-fight losing streak at the time, so that wasn't a good look. But he's trained by Josh Barnett. He has clean, nice boxing. He pressure fights his opponents a lot. Really walks guys down. Really wears on them. Has a catch wrestling background. Pretty good head movement. Throws a ton of volume. He's never been finished, man. So 6 wins by knockout, 8 wins by submission. He doesn't wind up on his punches at all. He doesn't overthrow. He kind of just touches guys up rather than throwing big power shots, and just kind of slowly overwhelms them with his volume and his pressure. And he's very good, man. He went to a split decision with Tony Gravely last time out. It was a close fight. Whereas Baszler won dominantly, one dominant decision over Tony. So there is that. It's MMA math. It doesn't always work out. But, yeah, Henry's very tough, man. And I do think Baszler's the better fighter here all the way around. And I'm going to be taking Baszler to win by decision. But I don't agree with this line, man. It's a really big price to pay for somebody, against Victor Henry. Yeah, I'm taking Baszler out by decision. Hopefully he'll be able to. I would think he might actually have some trouble with Henry on the feet, man. Baszler's got pretty clean striking, but Henry does as well. So Baszler's probably going to be looking to get the takedowns in this fight and get the control time. So next up we got Ansel Jubli taking on Mike Breeden. And Jubli is 28 years old, 6 foot tall with a 69-inch reach. He is 7-0 and 1-0 in the UFC, and he's a minus 375 favorite. Well, that was a few days ago, so he's probably a bigger favorite than that now, actually. So I was one of the few that picked Jubli to win his UFC debut, coming off the Road to UFC tournament. And he showed that he could wrestle. He looked amazing, dominant everywhere. He's undefeated. Does kind of have like a short reach for a guy his height, but it hasn't really made a difference. Great ground and pound, 2 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission. Nice kickboxing. Hasn't fought a whole lot of really tough competition yet. Hasn't fought really any UFC level competition yet. But you can tell he's still developing as a fighter. But this is a winnable fight for him for sure. Good matchup for him. Breeden hasn't looked good in the UFC. Jubli's younger, man. He's always improvement. I like his striking. He's definitely more technical out of these two. He's got nice straight punches, good fundamentals with his boxing, that's what led me to pick him, in the last fight. But he came out and showed that he could wrestle, and then he had all the skills there, and just grappled that guy and was able to get the finish, man. And that was really impressive, man. I didn't think from what I saw of him before that fight that he really had the skills to wrestle and grapple and all that. Because he didn't really show it on the regional scene. He's more known for his boxing, but he looked really good, man, really impressive. And he's taking on Mike Breeden. He's 34 years old, 5'10", with a 70-inch reach. He is 10-6 and 0-3 in the UFC, and he's a plus 290 underdog. And he has 8 wins by knockout. He's never won or lost a fight by submission. Just hasn't looked good in the UFC, man. I mean, I think which fight was that? He had a few moments in the Natan Levy fight early, but nothing super impressive. I mean, but he did land some good shots, so he showed a little something there. But he does have big power, man. His cardio hasn't looked very good, and just to kind of cut to the point, man, I'm going to do this on quite a few fights on this card. I don't think he wins this fight. I think Jubli's going to be the better fighter. For the most part, pretty much everywhere from what I've seen. And I expect Jubli to get a finish in the second round here whenever Breeden tires out, which is kind of what's happened to him. He gets – I guess he did go to a decision with Levy, but, usually he comes out hot and gets tired and then, gets finished. So I'm taking Jubli to win here by a second round TKO. Next up, we got Mohamed Yaya taking on Trevor Peek. And Yaya is, we don't have an age on him here. I didn't realize that before. He's 5'9" with a 73-inch reach. He's 12-3, and this is going to be his UFC debut. And he was a minus 165 favorite. I think some money's come in on Peak though, if I remember correctly. He has 7 wins by knockout, 2 wins by submission. He's fought in Bellator and UAE Warriors, and has fought a lot of questionable competition. He's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage in this fight. He has a kickboxing foundation, very good technique in his striking. Has a really nice straight right hand. If he has any weaknesses, it would definitely be his takedown defense and his submission defense. He was submitted twice earlier in his career. But his takedown defense did look a little bit better in his last fight, but he still got taken down. He was just kind of getting up faster. He has I say he has 5-round cardio. He looked pretty gassed in the 4th and 5th round, but he made it through the 5 rounds. But he is a champion over in UAE Warriors. No doubt that he's, the better, more skilled striker out of these two. If he can fight this, fight, the way he likes to fight and not let Peak make it a brawl, he may do well. But honestly, man, watching his last fight, and he honestly didn't look that good in that fight, man. He had a moment early where he dropped his opponent, and then his opponent dropped him a few times and was kind of out grappling him. And I thought, that fight could have gone either way. He struggled a bit with the grappling. That's not really how Peak fights, but I did see a lot of sloppy stuff in Yaya's last fight. And the same can be said for Peak, of course, but this fight could really go either way based on what I've seen. And Trevor Peak is 28 years old, 5'9", with a 70-inch reach. He is 8-1 and 1-1 in the UFC, and he was a plus 135 underdog. And I actually think he's like a plus 115 now, man. I'll actually check. That way I know I'm not talking out of my ass here. Yeah, see, now it's a pick 'em. Both of these guys are pick 'em, so I should probably go back through and check these right before I do this. Sorry about that. I go by I do it as I'm doing my notes. I write down the odds, and sometimes it changes. So it's a pick 'em now. Money's come in on Peak, and all of Peak's wins have been by knockout. And even though he may not be the most skilled fighter, he definitely makes up for it in aggression and pressure and power. He's very powerful, and being that he's taking on a kickboxer here, he definitely has a shot at winning this fight. He's very good at making guys fight his fight, and he throws all caution to the wind and just makes it a brawl and fights really wild, and he's just super powerful, man. And he does get taken down a lot, but he usually pops right back up. And just because he lost to Chepe doesn't mean that he's done. Chepe's a very good fighter, very well-rounded fighter. That's way better than Yaya is. So I can't hate on him for losing to that guy. And based on what I've seen watching the tape on Yaya and the level of competition he's been facing, this could be a pretty close fight. And if those guys that, Yaya was fighting in UAE could drop him, then Peak definitely can. So I'm going to be taking it was a dog shot on Peak. Now it's a pick 'em, but I'm going to give Peak a shot here, man. And I think he might go out here and make it a brawl and land a big shot and put this guy out. So. And it looks like everybody else is agreeing with me with all the money that's coming in on Peak. Next up, we got Bruno Silva taking on Sharaputin Magomedov. And this Magomedov guy is a fucking monster. I don't understand how he's not a bigger favorite than he is, right now. I don't know if people just aren't watching the tape or aren't familiar with this guy or whatever, if there's something that I'm missing, but from what I've seen, this guy's a monster. And Bruno Silva is 34 years old, 6 foot tall, with a 74-inch reach. He is 23-9 and 4-3 in the UFC, and he's a plus 155 underdog. He has 20 wins by knockout, never won a fight via submission, but he has been submitted 7 times. Hasn't really had any super impressive wins in the UFC. You just kind of never know what you're going to get. One minute he goes out there and has a 3-round fight with Alex Pereira. The next he gets beat by Gerald Mearshark, and his cardio looked terrible. But he is very powerful. He's a good kickboxer. His cardio, like I said, hasn't looked good in the past. And I'm not really high on Bruno, at all. So, and he's coming off a loss to, who did he just lose to? Brendan Allen. Well, Brendan Allen's a tough guy. But yeah, Bruno's always got a puncher's chance, but he's taking on an undefeated killer right here, man. And I was very excited to go back and watch all Magomedov's fights and really take a deep dive into his career and stuff. And but he's 29 years old, 6'2". We don't have a reach on him on here. He's 11-0, and this is his UFC debut. He's a minus 185 favorite. I think he's a minus 200 now, but that's the price that I got him at, minus 185, I believe. So altogether, this guy is 16-0 if you include the special rules, MMA fights that he's had, and he's also 18-2 as a K1 kickboxer. He has 10 wins by knockout just on his MMA record. And, guy's an amazing striker, man. Throws a very wide variety of strikes, very skilled Muay Thai fighter, fights well in the clinch, has nasty elbows in close. I saw him put a guy out with an elbow in close. And, yeah, man, and his takedown defense has held up pretty well, man. This guy hasn't been fighting, guys that aren't good. He's fought a lot of tough guys over in Russia and stuff like that, man. People that aren't, big MMA fans or whatever that don't really look into it wouldn't recognize these names, but these are tough Russian guys that, well, Dos Santos, that's probably Brazilian, but he knocked him out with a hook kick. The next guy, Rodrigo Carlos, was 27-21. That's not a good record, but Sergey Martinov, he is 16-4. It's a tough Russian guy. He knocked him out with a knee. I can't even say this guy's name, but he's 21-5. Got a very experienced fighter. And the last guy he beat was 7-6. Not so impressive there, but he's not fighting, guys that are really terrible, man. And if you go back and look, especially all his kickboxing fights and stuff like that. But yeah, man, he's got great kicks to all levels, very technical and creative. And even though he only has one eye, he's very accurate with his shots. You can't tell, by watching him fight that he has one eye. And he's very accurate, man. He had lots of first round finishes, but just 2 fights ago he went to a decision. And the cardio holds up very well, and he throws a ton of kicks. He just whips them out there, man. Just whack, whack. He chops guys down with those kicks, man. And if you haven't watched the tape on this guy, you need to go check it out, man. He doubles up his calf kicks at times like people do jabs, and always beats up the inside and outside of his opponent's legs. Throws good shots even when he's backing away. I saw him drop guys with punches while he's backing away. Uses good side kicks and hook kicks. He's just very good, man. Very, very good footwork and head movement. He's the real deal, man, and people should really jump on this line, in my opinion. Unless there's something I don't know, man. If there's something I don't know, y'all let me know. But I was just sure that this line was going to go through the ceiling. But yeah, man, I'm going to be taking him to win by knockout, and I'll say round 1 knockout. If it goes to round 2, for sure, he'll definitely get a finish because, Silva will be gassed out by then. But yeah, man, y'all really need to watch the tape on this guy and check him out, man. He's very good. Next up, we got Jinyu Frey taking on Victoria Dudikov. So, Jinyu Frey is 38 years old, 5'3", with a 65-inch reach. She is 11-9 and 2-5 in the UFC, and she's a plus 275 underdog. Yeah, she has some really bad losses on her record. She's on a 3-fight losing streak. She's 38 years old. She's very experienced, UFC veteran. At least she has that going for her. 1 win by knockout, 2 wins by submission. But that's really all she has going for her, is the experience factor. And, because she lost to Elise Reed and Kay Hansen. So that's really all I should have to say, man. And in this matchup, there are some fights she could probably win in the UFC, but with this matchup, I don't have anything to say on her behalf as far as, being better anywhere. Maybe she's a better boxer. I don't know. From what I've seen, it's pretty close on the feet. So she's taking on Victoria Dudikov. She is 24 years old, 5'5", with a 67-inch reach. She is 7-0 and 1-0 in the UFC, and she's a minus 350 favorite. And she's undefeated as an amateur as well and has lots of amateur fights, so a little bit more experience than her record, indicates. She won her, UFC debut off of injury, but, she was, I guess, I don't really want to say dominating that fight because it didn't last very long, but she was able to get the takedown pretty easily. She's good with her wrestling and grappling. Most of her wins have come by submission, 4 by sub and 2 by knockout. She's got a height and reach advantage, 2-inch reach advantage, and I think she's a better fighter here all the way around. I think she's definitely going to be able to get Frey down to the ground and probably get a submission. And, I'm taking her to win by 3rd round submission. Just not a lot here I can say, not a lot I can say on Frey's behalf here in this fight. So sorry to cut it so short, but And next up, we got Cedric Dumas taking on Azeitar. And Dumas is 28 years old, 6'2", with a 79-inch reach. He's 8-1 and 1-1 in the UFC, and he's a minus 170 favorite. And I'm not exactly sure what to make of Dumas, here, because he lost as a big favorite in his debut against to Josh Fremd, and then he beat Cody Brundage, but Brundage is terrible. He had to Brundage had to win by disqualification to get a win, and he was getting destroyed in that fight. Dumas has 4 wins by knockout, 2 wins by submission. I think he's still growing as a fighter. I think he's still improving. He's powerful. It's hard to say what his strengths really are based on who he's faced and what he's done in the UFC. His striking looked very good on the regional scene on the Contender Series. He's going to have a height and reach advantage, 3-inch reach advantage here. Fremd isn't good, and he got destroyed by him. So the grappling seemed to definitely be a hole there. He does seem to be improving. He's young, hungry, and he's taking on a very experienced guy here that's fought all over the world. And it's hard for me to say, based on beating Cody Brundage, it's not a lot I can take from that. It seemed that Dumas's wrestling had improved. He mostly dominated Brundage on the ground, and Brundage is a good wrestler, or supposedly a good wrestler, but I don't know, man. So I can't take too much away from the Brundage win based on how Brundage has looked, and I'm not sure I agree with Dumas being a big favorite here. I think this fight should probably be more like a pick'em. He's taking on Azeitar. He's 37 years old, 5'9", with a 76-inch reach. He is 14-3-1 and 1-1 in the UFC, and he's a plus 140 underdog. And he hasn't fought in over 2 years, which is the only reason that I'm scared to pick him in this spot. He has 7 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission. He's kind of a short, stocky guy for middleweight, big power, great kickboxing. He was a K1 champion. His last fight was a loss to Marc-Andre Barriault, and no shame there, man. I mean, Barriault's very good at what he does, and Barriault's on a little bit of a run right now. Azeitar has very fast hands, throws long combinations, and if Dumas is going to win, he'll want to try and use his grappling and get the fight to the ground like he did with Brundage. I would easily pick Azeitar, man, in this spot if he hasn't been out for 2 years, and I'm still kind of struggling with the decision on this one. I don't think I'll be putting money on this fight at all. But as far as the overall MMA experience and skill, I think it has to go to Azeitar. But he is getting up there in age, and he's been out for a while. But man, I'm going to go with Azeitar here, man. I'm not confident at all. Won't put money on this fight. I probably won't include it in my parlays either. But I probably did actually include it in my parlay. But yeah, I'll take him to win. I mean, Dumas is tough, I guess I'll take Azeitar to win by decision, but not super confident in that. But I just do think he is the more skilled, striker. And Azeitar has showed the ability to do some wrestling and stuff in the past. And, looking at his fights on the, on the regional scene before the UFC, he's looked pretty good overall, man. So the only thing that's got me second-guessing myself is he's been out for a while. But and his brother, hasn't looked good. They both were out for a while, and his brother came back and lost 2 fights now. So hopefully he doesn't follow his brother's footsteps, but I'll take Azeitar to win by decision, but not super confident in it. If Dumas wins this fight, I'll start riding with him for sure, though. Next up, we got Tim Elliott versus Muhammad Makhachev. Excuse me, I'm going to grab some water. And this should be an interesting fight anyway. So, Tim Elliott is 36 years old, creeping up on 37, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach. He is 19-12-1 and 8-10 in the UFC, and he's a plus 400 underdog. Yeah, Tim's got a really weird style, kind of like a herky-jerky type, style that gives guys a lot of problems, man. He fights very dirty. We saw that in the Ulanbekov fight. He was grabbing the gloves and all kinds of stuff. He does have all the skills, man. Good footwork, nice jiu-jitsu, good grappling. He's very good at controlling the hips of his opponents from top position, keeping guys down and landing big shots with his ground and pound. He's good at catching kicks and taking guys down from that as well. That's primarily his kind of fight, and the way he likes to fight is that way. Kind of like in his last fight against Altamirano. He dominated him with his wrestling in that fight. He's fought all the best guys in the world, man. I mean, let's look at his record. He's been around a long time, man. Uh, sorry. He beat Lembekov. Nobody thought he was going to win that fight. He beat Alta Moreno. Yeah, I did pick Alta Moreno to win that fight, which is pretty dumb of me, considering that he couldn't stop the takedowns. Jordan Espinoza, that's not an impressive win. Ryan Benoit, yeah, but he's fought a lot of really tough fighters. Brandon Royval, Askar Askarov, Davison Figueiredo, um, Demetrius Johnson, Luis Smoka, and this is his second run in the UFC, man. So if you go back and look at his first run in the UFC, he fought John Dotson, um, Luis Gadinot, sorry, Joseph Benavidez. He's been around a long time. He's fought a lot of tough competition. So, and it shows, in his fights, and he's just really hard to get his timing, with the way he fights and the way he uses his footwork and everything. It's hard to get his timing down because he's constantly changing and switching and throwing punches from really weird angles, and he's just weird all around. But he's kind of had a late resurgence in his career, man. He's looked really good. 3 wins by knockout, 6 wins by submission. Hasn't won a fight by finish since 2017, if I remember correctly. Um, but yeah, so I mean, I can't say I would be surprised if he somehow, pulled off a big upset and won this fight. He has very good scrambles and sweeps. Often ends up on top, in the grappling situations with the scrambles and stuff. Um, just very well rounded all the way around, man. He gives guys problems, and I could see a world where he gets a upset, man, for sure. But he's taking on Muhammad Makhachev. He is 23 years old, 5'7", with a 70-inch reach. He is 9-0 and 4-0 in the UFC, and he's a minus 550 favorite. And this guy's an amazing wrestler, very well-rounded, great submissions, doesn't get tired, great submission defense. 1 win by knockout, 5 wins by submission. 62% striking defense, and averages over 7 takedowns per 15 minutes, which is very impressive, especially if you're a prize picks better. He's usually good for the over on the takedowns. They don't have his takedown defense listed on UFC.com, but I'm willing to bet that's pretty good, and it might be perfect takedown defense. I don't remember if he's ever been taken down or not in all his fights in the UFC, but he's going to have a 4-inch reach advantage, and Makhayev's going to go out there and fight his fight, and we'll see how he deals with the weird style of Elliott, but I mean, I think we all think Muhammad's going to win this fight, and um, I don't know if Makhachev gets a finish here. I could see him getting a submission. Um, how many times has Elliott been submitted? Let's look real quick. He's got 5 losses by submission, so there's a good chance he could get submitted in this fight. But he is very experienced, man. And let's look at when the last time was he was submitted. It was to Brandon Royval back in 2020. Yeah, so I mean, there's a chance that Makhachev could get a submission here. I was gonna say by decision, but now I'm kind of second guessing myself. Um, let's go with Makhachev by third round submission. Let's go with that. Next up, we got Ikram Aleskerov taking on Warley Alves, which is, I mean, yeah. Either way, man, I didn't agree at all with Aleskerov. I'll talk about that in a minute. Aleskarov is 30 years old, 6 foot tall, with a 76-inch reach. He is 14-1 and 1-0 in the UFC. And let me see if the line's up on this yet, because it wasn't up the other day. Pretty sure it's up now. I don't see it. At least on this one. Let me check. Let me check bet now and see if it's on there. I mean, Eskarov's going to be a big favorite. I'm just curious, how big of a favorite. I don't see it up on there either. I imagine Lescarov's going to be a big favorite. Originally, I was kind of pissed off because he was supposed to fight Imavov, and this guy hasn't earned a fight with Imavov yet. I mean, he knocked out Phil Hawes, but a lot of people have done that. Phil Hawes is, I don't even know if Phil Hawes is still in the UFC. Um, so not very impressive really there. He was actually losing that fight up to that point. Hawes was outstriking him. Um, Aleskerov has 5 wins by knockout, 5 wins by submission. He's a tough Russian guy, good wrestling, of course. His striking didn't look terrible. I think he would have lost the Imavov fight, and he's definitely going to win this fight. I mean, no questions about it. Um, Alves hasn't looked good in a very long time, and so yeah, I mean, there's not a lot I can say here for Alves. I can go over his stuff and whatnot, but he hasn't looked good, man. So Alves is 32 years old, 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. He is 14-6 and 8-6 in the UFC, and he's been around a long time. 4 wins by knockout, 6 wins by submission. He's a tough guy. He hits hard. He's always got a shot at getting a finish with his striking. But from what I've seen from Aleskerov and watching, I went back and watched about 5 of his fights. I think he's going to be better everywhere the fight goes. He's not that much younger, but he's definitely more skilled with the grappling and the wrestling. I think he'll be able to easily get it to the ground if Alves is having success on the feet. Aleskerov will be able to get him down. So, I'm taking Aleskerov to win. I'm gonna take him to win by. I'm gonna take him round. Let's say round 2 TKO by via ground and pound. Let's go with that. Next up, we got Said Nurmagomedov taking on Muin Gafurov. Interesting matchup. But this is another one I don't understand. Because why is this guy Gafurov getting a shot against Nurmagomedov when Gafurov's 0-1 in the UFC? Maybe Nurmagomedov just wanted to stay active, wanted to get a fight, or maybe they needed somebody to fill in and he hopped in. I don't know, but the fight doesn't make sense to me. And Nurmagomedov is 31 years old, 5'8" with a 70-inch reach. He is 17-3 and 6-2 in the UFC, and he's a -190 favorite. And yeah, he beat some tough guys. His last fight was a really close fight with Jonathan Martinez. Watching that fight at the time, I expected the judges to give it to Nurmagomedov, but they didn't. It was a very close fight, man. So I can't hate on it either way. It was a good win for Martinez, but it was a close fight. He definitely had his moments in that fight. He caught Martinez with some good shots. He's a very good striker, has kind of a taekwondo background. Throws a lot of very heavy kicks, a wide variety of kicks, actually. Very effective with them. He can wrestle as well. He's dangerous. He has a dangerous guillotine choke that he uses when guys are shooting on him. Because he does have kind of long arms, man, for his size and for the weight class. Like we saw with the Kakramanov fight. He was getting out wrestled quite a bit there by Kakramanov, and then that he got tired of him taking him down, sunk in that choke, and got the finish. He's got a very, very, very good grip. Where was I at? Yeah, and he'll use that guillotine to sweep and get on top and all that stuff. He has 4 wins by knockout, 5 wins by submission. This, like I said, I don't understand the matchup, but it makes no sense either. But no doubt in my mind that Nurmagomedov is the better fighter here, the more skilled fighter. Everywhere the fight goes. Muin Gafurov is 27 years old, 5'7" with a 68-inch reach. He is 18-5 and 0-1 in the UFC, and he's a +160 underdog. And he's got 10 wins by knockout, 7 wins by submission. His power has really carried him far in his career. He's fought over and won and all kinds of stuff. He's really been around. But we saw in his debut that he just wings hooks, man. He isn't technical at all. He just kind of throws wild shots. He never stops coming, never stops throwing. He's very tough, man. Pushes a tough pace, but Nurmagomedov is the more skilled fighter here by far, the sharper striker. Throws the nice straight punches down the middle, the good kicks. Gafurov will eventually probably have some success in the UFC, but I don't think it's going to happen in this fight. I'm going to be taking Nurmagomedov to win by second round knockout. I think he's going to be very. Nurmagomedov is going to be able to counter these wide shots from Gafurov straight down the middle with nice straight punches and hopefully put him away. I mean, Nurmagomedov does get tired in the third round sometimes, but he did look pretty good in the Martinez fight. In the third round, he looked all right. But yeah, I'm taking Nurmagomedov to get the knockout round 2, or maybe Gafurov will start shooting on him like Gafurov was doing against John Castaneda, and Nurmagomedov will lock in that choke. Either way, I think Nurmagomedov has this one in the bag, and it's a good price on him if you're looking to bet on him. Next up, we got Magomed Ankalaev taking on Johnny Walker. Uh, Ankalaev is 31 years old, 6'3", with a 75-inch reach. He is 18-1-1 and 9-1-1 in the UFC, and he's a minus 350 favorite. 9 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission. He's very well rounded. Has all the skills. Man, he fights very smart. Almost too smart sometimes. He kind of. There's been fights, in those last few fights or whatever that he kind of, in my opinion, kind of underperformed. For the giant favorite that he was, but it's because he fights very safe. And just kind of picks his shots. He doesn't throw a ton of volume. It's I don't know, man. He had some exciting wins in the UFC. Don't get me wrong, but just like the Thiago Santos fight, the Bolchevich fight. Um, well, the Anthony Smith was a finish, but he's coming off a draw in the title fight where both the guys just kind of fought like it was like they weren't really fighting to win a title, man. That's what I mean by the underperforming thing. He's a good striker. He doesn't throw a ton of volume. Good striking defense. He doesn't get hit a lot. He has good wrestling. He's beat a lot of tough guys. I think he's definitely better all the way around here. It would be nice if we could see him come out and actually fight like he wants that title, man, and go out there like in the Kutalaba fights where he just went out there and destroyed him, very quickly. Because he has the ability to finish anyone, man, and if he wants to get a title shot coming off this win, man, he's going to need to knock out Walker or finish him in this fight. He switches stances a lot, gives guys a lot of different looks. Greco-Roman wrestling background as well. Great front kicks up the middle. Nice straight left from the southpaw stance. Can't say enough good things about him. It's just wish that he would be a little bit more aggressive and whatever. But he wins fights, so you can't hate on him. He wins fights and he doesn't take a lot of damage. So obviously he fights very smart and he's very skilled. And he's only lost to Paul Craig, and that even Paul Craig catches people sometimes. He wins fights he shouldn't. But yeah, Ankalaev has looked unstoppable, since then. And Johnny Walker is 31 years old, 6'6", with an 82-inch reach. He is 21-7 and 7-4 in the UFC, and he's a plus 270 underdog. And Walker's going to have a 7-inch reach advantage here, a big height advantage as well, 3 inches. He's such a big guy, man, and he's a good fighter. A lot of people had wrote him off kind of at one point, but he's turning it around and he's won 3 in a row. He fights a lot different than he used to now, man. He used to throw a lot of spinning attacks and jumping attacks and take a lot of risks, and that's why so many people were excited about him early in his career. Dangerous submissions with his long arms and legs. He's pretty good defensively off of his back as well on the ground. Doesn't take a lot of damage. Good submission defense. I don't think he's never been submitted in the UFC at least. He's only been submitted one time, and it was earlier in his career. 16 wins by knockout, 3 wins by submission. And I would imagine that Ankalaev might come out and push the wrestling kind of early here to wear on Walker and get around that long reach. But I do think Ankalaev has the better striking. He's just got to figure out how to get around that long reach. And it's hard to say who's more powerful here. Both these guys are very powerful. So I would think he would want Walker to think he's going to wrestle and be focused on stuff and takedowns, and then he's going to land a big shot. So. But, based on the way Ankalaev has been fighting, I got to take him to win by decision here. But I'm hoping he gets a big knockout here. Even though I'm more of a Walker fan, but I got money on Ankalaev. So next up, we got the co-main event. Kamaru Usman taking on Khamzat Chimaev. And, I am excited for this fight, man. I hate the circumstances of it. And, Kamaru Usman is 36 years old, 6 foot tall with a 76-inch reach. He is 20-3. He's 20-3 and 15-2 in the UFC. His only 2 losses to Leon Edwards. And yeah, he's looked so dominant for such a long time. Mostly with his wrestling, but his boxing has improved a whole lot. He looked really good in the Masvidal knockout, the Burns knockout. He's got 9 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission. And I just, I hate that we're having to see this on short notice. Like, this fight probably should have happened at 170, for, a while back probably could have happened, and it would have been more exciting to see Usman on a full camp. I am interested to see him up at 185, but yeah, man, so he's great. He's one of the best welterweights of all time, but he didn't quite look like himself anymore, in the last Leon Edwards fight. So that kind of, I don't know. I don't know. I hate to say that the knockout, changed him or whatever, like that. Maybe he was just being a little tentative because he was coming off a knockout and just trying to get back in there. I don't know. He just didn't look like himself in the last fight so much. He's taking on Khamzat Chimaev. He's 29 years old, 6'2", with a 75-inch reach. He is 12-0, and Usman's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage here, by the way. Chimaev is 12-0 and 6-0 in the UFC, and he's a -375 favorite. 5 wins by knockout, 6 wins by submission. And, we all know that Khamzat's the real deal, very powerful and explosive, legit wrestling. Has run through most of his opponents without any issues other than Gilbert Burns. And he just didn't really fight smart in that fight. He went out there and brawled with Burns, and it was a fun fight, and very enjoyable fight. And I actually thought Burns could have won that fight, man. It was very close. He is nonstop pressure fighter. He should win this fight, man. It's also been over a year since he's fought, but I don't put too much into that. If you look at his Instagram and everything and see how hard he's training and who he's training with, he's definitely going to be well prepared for this fight. And I don't know, man. I think if Usman was on a full camp, I would. I don't know. I don't know that I would pick him for sure, but and up at 185, I don't know, man. I can't go with Usman here on such a short notice, and I definitely think Chimaev is going to come out here and get the win. And I would hate to see Usman get knocked out or whatever, but it might happen here. So Chimaev's got big power, and yeah, on such a short notice, I kind of feel the same way about both these fights. These aren't guys that you could just jump in on short notice and get the win and not be prepared for them. So I'm taking Chimaev to win. And he's a killer, man. I mean, I guess I got to take him to win by. Knockout, man. We'll say knockout. Knockout round 2, man. He's a finisher. Next up, we got the main event: Islam Makhachev taking on Alexander Volkanovski. 2. And Makhachev is 32 years old, 5'10" with a 70.5-inch reach. He is 24-1 and 13-1 in the UFC, and he was a -240 favorite as of yesterday. 4 wins by knockout, 11 wins by submission, and Islam didn't look all that good in the last fight. He very, very, very closely got away with the decision in that fight. He got caught with some shots, man. He just didn't look like the normal Makhachev that we were used to, man. And I do worry that maybe the weight cut is getting to be too much for him based on how he looks at weigh-ins. I mean, he's got to cut a lot of weight, man. And we all know the scoop on him. Best wrestling around. Great submissions. Volkanovski definitely got the better of him on the feet in the last fight. You even heard him a few times. And Volkanovski is 35 years old, 5'6" with a 71-inch reach, or 71.5-inch reach, sorry. 26-2, 13-1 in the UFC, and plus 195 underdog. I'm sure, the last fight when these guys fought, Volkanovski had a lot of success, man. He did get taken down a few times. That's how Makhachev was able to get the decision, but Volk is one of the best fighters to ever do it, man, and he's the only one to ever give Islam, legit problems in a fight. And, Volk can do all of it, man. Great boxing, good grappling, wrestling's good too. Takedown defense is very good. And if this fight was not on 11 days' notice, I would definitely pick Volkanovski, based on the last fight. I hope Volk wins this fight, man. I'm a big fan of his. Not really a Makhachev fan at all. And I hate that we're getting this rematch on short notice like this. I mean, Volkanovski deserves, after the way the first fight went, he deserves to have a full camp coming into this fight. But props to him for stepping up and saving the pay-per-view. And I actually kind of want to see this fight more than the Oliveira fight, honestly. But man, I got to go with. I want to go with Volkanovski, man. On 11 days' notice, man. I want to go with him, but Man, I was gonna go with Makhachev. Now I kind of want to pick Volkanovski, man. I really want him to win. I think he could win. I just hate the 11 days notice, man. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Makhachev because of the 11 days notice, man. But I'm rooting for Volkanovski. I hope he wins. I hope he pulls a Bobby Green and knocks out Makhachev real quick. I really enjoyed that, guys. That made me so happy that that he knocked out Dawson like that. I was blown away by it. I did pick Dawson to win, but I can't stand Dawson, so that was super fucking cool to see that and that quick. Green really put himself up there, man. I mean, that's pushing him towards the top guys with that win because Grant was like what on a seven. He's like 7-1 in the UFC or 7-0-1 in the UFC or I don't remember. But Green's really pushing himself up there to the top, and it would be cool to see Green. I know obviously he fought Makhachev before and got destroyed pretty easily, but it'd be cool to see him fighting some of the top guys, like see Green take on Dustin Poirier. Um, didn't I know they fought before? I think, but or Gaethje or any of those guys, man, that'd be super cool to see that. So good for him, man. Super happy for him. And that's it as far as the picks, guys, and as far as my bets go. Turn this up. So as far as my bets go, I've got a straight up play on Sharaputin Magomedov. I called him at minus 185. That's a 1 unit play. And then I have a Magomedov and Ankalaev 2 fight parlay. I'm pretty confident in this, in the Magomedov, Sharaputin Magomedov. He's one of my, most confident picks on the card. So I feel like there's something I'm missing out on because I'm all in on him. So I don't know if there's something I don't know or what, but yeah, I've got a Magomedov and Ankalaev 2 fight parlay. It's minus 108. That's a 1 unit play. And then I've got a Javid Basharat and Said Nurmagomedov 2 fight parlay, and that's minus 105, and that's a 1 unit play as well. A lot of good spots on this card for 2 fight parlays and stuff like that. And as far as my parlays go, the first one is a 6 fight parlay with Muhammad Makhachev, Magomed Ankalaev, Said Nurmagomedov, Javad Basharat, Ansel Jubli, and Sharaputin Magomedov, and they're all huge favorites, so that's a plus 421. Not a lot of value on there for that many fights, but and then to that, I had all the same guys on there. I'll leave these up for a second so you can see them. All the same guys, and then I add Kamzat and Dudakov, and that's a plus 725 parlay. That's an 8 fight parlay. I'll leave it up for a second so you guys can see it for sure. And then to that, I added Nathaniel Wood, Trevor Peek, and Azeitar, and that's a plus 5,531, and that's 11 fight parlay. So that's it for the parlays and the bets, guys. And I wanted to go back and talk about. I should have mentioned this at the beginning of the video. I wanted to go back and talk about the changes to this weekend's card. Pull it up real quick. There has been a few changes, man. So, first off, I think I already talked about. Yeah, Gutierrez was on there when I did my video. They added this Terrence McKinney versus Brendan Marotte. And going back and looking at the tape on Brendan here, I mean, kind of most of his wins are over pretty low level competition. Not a whole lot of impressive stuff I've seen there. He has a good record. He's 8-1. Let's check out his ratio here. He's got 5 wins by knockout, 1 win by submission. He's never been finished. He was looking at the guys he's been fighting though. The last guy he beat was 11-20, and the guy before that was 3-1. He beat an 8-4 guy before that. There's not a lot of guys with very good records or a whole lot of experience here, so I think it's pretty obvious. McKinney's a big favorite. I'd definitely be going with McKinney here. And As far as the method of victory, I would say the McKinney's probably going to come out and use his wrestling again and get a submission. Even though he does have that big power, and Moreau's going to be there to be hit, but I'll take McKinney to win by man. I'll say first round submission, maybe second round. And what else? Oh, and they changed Michel Pereira taking on Andre Petrosky. Obviously before he was supposed to take on the Marc-Andre Barrialt. I was going to be going with Barrialt in that spot. But now this is kind of completely different for me because, Petrosky's a good wrestler. Pereira's a dangerous, dangerous striker. And, if I like the Barrialt matchup for him, because Barrialt was going to hold him against the cage and wear on him. And that's how I thought he'd be able to get a victory here. Petrosky's, striking, even though Petrosky has a very good record and he's got some good wins, man, his striking is not good, man. And he does not look good on the feet. He never looks comfortable on the feet at all. He's primarily uses his wrestling and grappling to get the wins. But Pereira has pretty good takedown defense, man. And, I know that Petrosky's not going to be able to hang with Pereira on the feet. And, Petrosky also kind of looks tired in the third round sometimes, which Pereira does too. But I'm curious to see how Pereira's going to look up at 185, man. And I'm going to be going with Michel Pereira here. As far as a method of victory, I mean, he's going to be up at 185, man. And he's definitely going to have the advantage on the feet. Petrosky hasn't been finished in a long time. Let's look at his the one finish. He has one knockout loss on his record, and I guess that was in the that was an LFA to Aaron Jeffrey. So yeah, I'm going with Michel Pereira here. I'm not going to go full into the breakdowns and everything with this one, but I think Pereira's going to end up landing a big shot, and I don't know if he'll finish Petrosky, but I think he's going to hurt Petrosky early, and Petrosky's going to be on the retreat for the rest of the fight. I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to take him by finish or not. I'll say he wins by decision, man, because most of Pereira's fights here lately have been going to decision. So I'll say he wins by decision, man. He usually fights pretty smart and stays out of the way, and doesn't use up too much energy. So I'm going to be taking Pereira to win by decision. And I believe that's it, man. I think that's all I got for you guys. I already went over that fight. Sorry. Anyways, man, I really appreciate all you guys. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring for what I have to say. And please like and subscribe, man. It'll help me out a lot. And I don't know what more I got to do to get more views, man, because every so often I have a video that gets like up over 1,000 views or whatever, and and I did get some that had over 2,000 views or whatever, but I had to pay for ads to get to get it up to that. So I don't know, man. It's just weird because I had over 1,000 views, and now I'm back down to 400 or 500 views, and I've only got 400 or 500 subscribers. So it's only the guys that are subscribed or watching the video. So I don't know what I got to do to change that, but I'm gonna try and figure it out, man. But I guess that's it, man. I appreciate all you guys. Thank you very much. And y'all have a good one, man. I'm out of here.